Welcome. And this evening we are going to converse about how the impossible flood of Noah actually was possible if you include factual science. It's pretty much on historical record that there was a catastrophic flood that Noah prepared for. A flood that many believe is impossible. The flood of Noah, as it's often referred to, happened for many reasons. Some of the reasons were that Nibiru was here at the time, and there were entities who were engaging in intercourse with the human women who were spawning hybrids. And then also they were bringing technology to this planet that wasn't supposed to be here yet, as is recorded in hieroglyphs.
Then your positive vibes, even when we're not together, we're like that in my mind. Ain't that where it begins? Where'd you come from? I showed up with your friends.
The flood was to wipe out evidence of the technology. Alright, to wash it away and to wipe out the hybrid race known as the Nibiru, created from the women spawning with these other entities. Okay, known as like the fallen angels. That's what they're referred to by the doctored scriptures. Okay, the scriptures were doctored. Christ was fighting against that. They were so doctored that they changed the history of what he was doing, and he was merely casting out money changers from a temple. Okay, but that's doctored accounts.
If by that you mean good, where'd you come from? I'm just a call from the hood.
How these entities were undone and this technology was undone was via time-traveling angels of death, who identified the offenders as targets and then traveled back in time and caused their ancestors not to be able to spawn so that they couldn't spawn them. And it caused what we know as Mandela effect. Back then it would have been known as, I don't know, Noah effect or the butterfly effect, where nobody remembered that they were here or the technology was here because they were gone. And then there was these giants that were left here and remnants of the scientific experiments where they were splicing DNA. Yeah, that's not new. And the cloning that they were involved in because, well, they wanted to create a race of human women that were nothing more than sex slaves.
Smoke down, smoke down.
The reason that many intelligent people do not accept the history of the flood as possible is because they have watched weather patterns and man-made manipulated weather and what happens before a storm or a flood, which is usually from some coastal region. Water will disappear and you'll be able to walk way out onto the beach. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Sucked away the water from the Bahamas, coastal water to temporarily go missing. These are all things that weren't happening before they were engaged in weaponized weather, which it's causing karmic reciprocity upon them and their agencies and their equipment and everyone who benefits from such behavior. And it's causing their spirits to be time looped as all animals and people who were negatively affected by the weather. And not only during the floods. After they manipulate the weather goes into these weird cycles where it doesn't stabilize for a long time. And people keep enduring hardship, and animals keep enduring hardship. And when they die here from their pre-existence, they will get time looped as those animals and people while they were suffering. And then they will also be time looped as all other entities they negatively affected, and maybe even as slaves to repay their ill-gotten gain. And then their spirits will be spiritually executed, so that when this timeline is reversed and everything is undone and everybody is unborn, and then it is replayed again from a restore point, and only those who graduated to the next timeline get born here. You see, they actually got punished and spiritually executed to never exist for something that they will not be allowed to perpetuate, even though right now they are engaged in perpetuating. That's why it is so dangerous not to know this information. If you've done any studying at the feet of suspicious observers, then you know that the sun activity does cause some inclement weather already, without intervention or manipulation from man. Floods and inclement weather can also be caused from the magnetic pole shift that we are currently enduring. This can affect the weather negatively as well. There's been a lot of circus science and hokey media associated to Nibiru, Planet X. And there's also other delusions associated to it to make it appear to be a delusion. But finally, we get to scientific fact. And we get to how could the Earth get covered in water that it did not have in its atmosphere. And for those of you who don't know, the reason why Noah was being made fun of so badly was because at the time, the water that moisturized the planet came from the earth. It was dew, and there was no rain. It had not rained here yet. When the first rain happened, the floods are attributed to the water that was part of our firmament, our atmospheric protective coating.
Hey, you feel like helping me today?
No, unless you mean help you achieve orgasm after I get a nut in you. Our atmospheric protective coating was comprised of many things, and one of those things was a barrier of water. But that would still not have been enough to flood all of the earth except for China. That's why we have at our disposal access to the knowledge of how this could have happened. There's water in the solar system. I would recommend any of you who have doubts about this and about the concept that this is possible to just go study a little bit of what suspicious observers has to share about Starwater, and you suddenly see a whole other layer of content hidden in the story of the floods that occurred, requiring the building of the ark.